What is consequentialism, and how is it used in moral politics? Imagine making decisions not just based on what feels right or what rules say, but on what results those choices produce. That's the heart of consequentialism. It's an ethical approach that judges whether an action is good or bad by looking at its outcomes. If the results bring the most happiness or the least suffering, then the action is considered morally right. This idea is part of a broader category called teleological ethics, which means judging morality by the ends or goals achieved. The most well-known form of consequentialism is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism says that actions are right if they maximize happiness and minimize pain for the greatest number of people. So, when policymakers decide on laws or programs, they often think about the overall benefits or harms those decisions will cause. In politics, consequentialism is used to evaluate policies by weighing their positive and negative effects. For example, a government might introduce a healthcare program because it improves health outcomes for many people. If the benefits outweigh the costs or risks, then the policy is seen as morally justified. Leaders also use this approach when considering reforms like environmental protections or social welfare programs. They ask, will this help more people than it hurts? This way of thinking contrasts with other moral theories. Deontology, for instance, focuses on following rules or duties regardless of the results. Virtue ethics emphasizes the character and virtues of the person making decisions. In political debates, consequentialism often guides discussions about trade-offs. For example, some might argue restricting certain freedoms is acceptable if it leads to greater security or economic growth. Practical uses of consequentialism in politics include conducting cost-benefit analyses to see if a policy's positive effects outweigh the negatives. It also justifies reforms aimed at improving society, like expanding healthcare or protecting the environment. Sometimes, it involves making tough choices, like accepting some harm to a few if it benefits the larger community. For example, in international aid or humanitarian efforts, leaders assess whether their actions will improve global well-being. However, critics point out that focusing only on outcomes can sometimes justify questionable means. For instance, sacrificing individual rights or fairness might be seen as acceptable if it results in a better overall outcome. This tension highlights how ethics and politics often have to balance competing values. In summary, consequentialism is a way of judging morality based on results. In politics, it helps guide decisions by focusing on what benefits society most, even if that sometimes means difficult trade-offs. It emphasizes practical outcomes and collective well-being while raising important questions about justice and rights.